I'm Italian born, and I came here in 1959 without any knowledge of English. I knew two words, blue jeans and beautiful. And so coming here to LA, it was like I'd never been to a big city. So it was a cultural shock. All the clothes were a cultural shock, the whole thing. And I went to high school, and then I went to beauty school every Saturday, and they needed some hairstylists out in Downey. And that's how I landed in Downey. So along the way, I became manager of the store, of the salon. And Karen's mom would come in there. And one day when I was doing her hair, she said, "Would you like to go on the road with Karen and Richard?" Well, I had no idea who they were, and I didn't know what on the road meant. So then I had an interview with both Richard and Karen, I think together and then separate. And they hired me. So it was quite an adventure, I would say. The first gig was in Houston, and it was a big place, and it must have been an athlete type of Coliseum football, because we were down below the stage and so forth. And while I was getting Karen ready, somebody was beating on drums like crazy. So anyway, it was some crazy guy beating on her drums, saying, "Karen, come out, I want to marry you, I love you." So anyway, they dragged him away, I guess. But that was my first adventure. It was on the road in Austin when the flirting started. It was so warm that we decided to just have a gun fight. So somebody went out and bought water guns, and we played with water guns in and out of each bedroom or bed or apartments, whatever they were. I don't know, but I thought it was funny. That's when it started, the flirting with Richard, and it was sort of innuendos, little things that kind of flirting. Usually we had 3 rooms together, and it was usually Karen and I, and not Richard and I. This time we had Richard, and it was me and Richard. So at this time, that's when we kind of got off the tracks. and then at one point, Richard kept it quiet, I kept it quiet, but people were not aware of it. They were aware. So it was a good relationship, because I loved car, he loved car. And he let me drive his Ferrari. Only his father and I would drive the Ferrari. So, and I'm a good driver. I know my stick shifts. Anyway, so that's when it all started. It came as an avalanche to them. They went from 0 to 1,000,000 miles an hour. So they weren't going to complain about it, because after all, that's what they wanted. At the beginning, it was like all green light, go, but it was fun, it was difficult, it was an experience, for all of us. I think I didn't realize that I was in the same shoes as they were. It was just as new to me as it was to them. We started touring, and it was an experience for all of us. And it was grueling at first, but nobody minded it, even doing 200 showing a year, because that's what they wanted. They're superstars now. So they weren't about to cool down, and we just went like gangbusters. One of the gigs that we were at, it was a big place, and after the show, we walked out to get into the limousine. And people were jumping up and down on the cars. It was scary. It was scary sometimes, But Karen always kept her cool. I don't think she realized how gifted she was. I think she realized what she was doing, and she wanted perfection. The only time Karen showed anger, a little anger, was when she came off the stage, and somebody had missed a note or something, and then I could tell by the way she walked off stage. Then her tomboy came out in her, she would come out, and she'd say, "What happened here? What happened here?" But never in a bad, mean way. She just wanted perfection. And she didn't realize how good she was. She wasn't conceited. She didn't think of herself as a star. When I first went on the road with them, she sat behind the drums more than at the very end when I was there. And then she was more up front. So toward the end, she did maybe a couple of songs, where before she would do 3 or 4. And eventually she just got comfortable with the stage, because basically, like I said, she's shy. But she was always serious, and always in thought. But, to me, she wasn't as happy as she should be, with too much weighing on her heart, like sand. But I always wanted to say, oh, Karen, don't let somebody talk to you like that. Or, I wanted to protect her because she was, a really nice person, and I know that a lot of people thought maybe she was, tough, but she wasn't. It was that she had to blossom out her courage to really get something done, but she was a determined person. She was unidirectional. The music was the important thing. She wasn't crazy about clothes. She wasn't crazy about jewelry. She wasn't crazy about cars. She just really was crazy about her career, but not, oh, I'm a superstar type things. She didn't act like that. Her challenge were mainly to sort of find some freedom. Find freedom maybe from her parents or from whatever was heavy on her. She had too much on her plate all the time, where she really wanted to concentrate on making music. Signs of her eating disorder, Karen's eating disorder, I did not see signs. She wasn't fat. She was never fat. She just had a very long waist, and then the jeans that she wore were so tight that it made her hip look bigger. So I tried to get her to wear something that would fall over her hip and slim her down a little bit. But she wasn't fat, But somebody, somebody told her maybe that she was at one time. I don't know, but it wasn't the truth. It was too bad that she took that road. Like I said, I don't know where she got this fat idea. But she was, and she was thin. She was thin-waisted, and then her hip were emphasized more. So she was built to have kids, and I think the eating disorder was the only thing that she can control. She can control that, and nobody could tell her what to do. And and I don't know if what she had in mind, if she had an end in mind, but I don't think so. I think that she was just punishing herself or somebody, and saying, that I'm going to do this, and I'm doing it. That's it, and you can't say anything. May 1st, 1973 was a real big surprise. And oh my God, it was a magnificent thing that happened. We were invited at the White House by President Nixon. We played in the East Room, not too many songs, just enough to give everybody a taste. There was lots of Marines dressed in beautiful costume. Oh my God, I could have taken a few home. Anyway, but Karen, she never really got nervous about it. But this time, she was a little antsy because it wasn't a stage. It was a room, and it was a little bit different. We didn't know about Watergate, and it was like almost in full bloom. Agnes was never happy to be anywhere but with them. She wanted to keep him in the nest. And so anybody that interfered, it was, not a good thing. She wanted to keep the family together like it should be, like they were when they were teenager. I don't know what she was thinking, but Agnes' attitude, in a way, was, hey, you're a superstar because I was the one to push you, and I was the one that sacrificed. And so they felt the guilt, and the guilt, sort of weighed them down. They had, bricks on their feet. Agnes regarded Richard as the genius, because I guess he was always into music from the start with the records, and his father used to buy him records, and Karen was out there playing baseball and doing stuff like that. So I think that that Agnes had this idea that he created the Carpenters, and Karen took second seat, you know. But I don't think the Carpenter would have be successful without Karen. You know, where would they be? It was her voice. You know, sure, Richard arranged the songs, and he was a genius at that. You know, and he could sing, but he didn't have her voice. I don't know what Agnes expected from Karen, because Karen was doing the best she could, and it was good. It was excellent. So I don't know what the heck she wanted. You know, now she's a superstar, and there was no reason for Agnes to always be crossed or chew Karen out, you know, for whatever reason. It was never a friendly talk. It was never a hug. It was never an arm around the shoulder and say, oh, you did good, or this, that. It was never like that. Never. I've never seen it. She didn't do that with Richard either, but you could tell the tone of voice when she talked to Richard that was totally different, you know. And Karen respected her mother, but she didn't like she didn't like taking that from her all the time. I think Richard kept Karen company, and Karen kept Richard company, because that's how they sort of grew up, and they relied on each other. But any interference from the outsider was sort of foreign to them. There were signs, but I didn't read into them as much. I just had that feeling. And I was totally surprised when Karen said to me one day when I went over there, she said, "This is not working out." And I said, "What?" She was referring to my relationship with Richard. And I said, how do you say that it's not working out? Tell me what I'm doing wrong. And she goes, I could tell that she was uncomfortable telling me that she struggled getting the words out. And I pressed her to tell me, am I doing my job wrong? Where am I failing? You know, because I tried my best to really be on her side and not, and Richard, we had plenty of time together, you know, we could always find time. But my job was for Karen, so I wouldn't jeopardize that for the world. But so when she told me that it wasn't working out, I was like dumbfounded. And when I pressed her, she found it hard to tell me what was that it was wrong. And it wasn't until later that I thought, oh my God, it's the mother. I think Agnes was the one that decided that this was going too far. Karen gave me the ultimatum after she said that this wasn't working between the three of us. And so she said, I'll give you a choice. You can stay with me and forget Richard, or go with Richard and forget me. Well, I couldn't do either one, you know, because I couldn't go on the road and see Richard with another girl. And I couldn't go on the road and see Karen and her things being treated not the way they should be. And so I had a dilemma, you know, because I knew I could do both. I mean, there was no question about it. But that was the ultimatum, so I just said no to either, because I didn't want the pain. You know, that was enough pain. How Richard reacted was sad. He was sad because I think for a while he was happy. He was happy going back east with a Ferrari. He was happy doing shows and, you know, all that. And I think that he made a sacrifice too. I'm not saying that ultimately we would have gotten married and all that, but who thought about that stuff then? We just thought about, hey, let's get in the Ferrari and go someplace, or let's do this, let's do that. It was just fun, and we were young. And so he came over and he said, well, you know, this is not working out, and so forth. And he was kind of, I mean, both he and Karen had a hard time getting it out, you know, because so I knew something was not right, you know, and there was nothing I could say to Richard except, okay, you know, and so I shed a few tears, and that was that. I was on top of the mountain, and now I was down in the valley again, you know, because that's how I felt. I felt like I fell off the top of the Alps. The only thing I could think was, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And I couldn't find one thing that I did wrong. I wasn't disrespectful. I wasn't arrogant. I wasn't bossy. Any of those things. So I just closed the chapter on the book. I don't know if Richard knew that his mother Agnes was behind this or not. And I'm pretty sure she was. And I think she needled both Richard and Karen, but I think she gave Karen the duty to do it because I was Karen's person and not Richard. So Karen told me, was the first one to tell me. And then Richard came to my house and told me. And that was the end of that.